I'm trying to make a serious video here, but my throat will not let me. Slick Woods is over there at the back like, what's going on? When you thought the situation couldn't get worse, it got worse. This is a joke. Kumbe it wasn't. I look very ashy on my monitor, very ashy, but I've looked at myself in the mirror and I look fine, so it is what it is. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Melissa Joe. If you are new here and do not already know this beautiful face, today's a serious video. Let me tell you, I've been thinking about this the whole week and I've just felt compelled to share this story and completely let go of it and move forward appropriately, as I already have begun doing. But I feel like I can't really completely get over it until I share it, and YouTube is the platform to do so, as I have seen. So yeah, this story, it's close to my heart. You don't even know, but you're about to find out. So enjoy. It is the 30th of May. And what has inspired this video is the fact that today I am not supposed to be in Nairobi, which is where I am. I am supposed to be in Mombasa. I was to wake up by the beach this morning, not because of a holiday, but for a 3-week-long exhibition I was to have until the month of June. Asked myself, well, how do you feel, Melissa, being that you should be in the coast, or not should, because the will of God prevails over everything. So because you had planned to be in the coast right now and you would be preparing for your exhibition to be launching this Saturday, how do you feel now that you're not there because of COVID and, traveling restrictions? And I thought to myself, I was like, I'm actually very okay. Like, I really am not bothered at all. And I remember just thinking to myself, why is this how I feel? I feel like I should be distraught and just like, man, God, are you really here for me? But that's not what I'm feeling even right now, knowing that I would be at my gallery exhibition opening right now. And I remember just thinking to myself, well, why don't I feel bothered by this? And the Holy Spirit brought to mind something that I went through in 2019? Yes, something that I went through in 2019. And it was a situation that was far much more disappointing than this situation of not being in the coast, enjoying the fruits of my labor in the studio, and, banking in coins from my labor in the studio. The reason why I'm okay right now is because I went through something worse, and that's what I'm about to explain in this video. So I finished my A-levels in 2018, month of June, and I finished intentionally knowing that I would take a gap year off of school, even though I had not told anybody but God about it. But I let him know this is what I want to do, because there was a sudden shift in my career choice and I needed time to just settle into that decision that I had made, heavily influenced by God, to do art full-time. And I knew people wouldn't really be accepting of that immediately. And because I had not been planning for that at any point of my life, I needed that time to do so and get into it and just, find my bearing, basically, is what I wanted to do for that year. But it wasn't just that I was going to sit at home and just chill on anything. No, no, no. The plan was to actually launch my art career during that gap year. And then by the end of the gap year, the plan was to have applied to an international uni and get in and then fly out at the end of my gap year. Right, as Stephanie Nganga says. So yeah, the year went extremely well. I remember I was in the car with a friend of mine and I told her this year is going so well, especially from January 2019. I was like, this year is going so well that it makes me afraid, because I feel like something really bad is going to happen, because I was never used to just good things happening in a continuous streak. So I was like, yo, something bad is coming. And something bad did come, but I'll get to that, okay? That's why we're sitting here today. Anyway, so yeah, I was having so many opportunities, not just for art, but for my charity organization especially. So there were just so many opportunities coming, and as in, things were happening, moves were being made, connections were just, they were connecting. You know what I'm saying? And came time to apply for uni. So I did my research, found a bunch of unis I would have wanted to apply to. I shortlisted them down to two, which were York University in Canada and Concordia University in Canada. So your girl was not willing to spend application fees on two unis, because application fees at international universities are they're out of this world, to be quite honest. Like, why is that an application fee and it's never going to be returned to me? I don't understand. So I was like, okay, Melissa, we're putting all of our eggs in one basket. And so I settled on Concordia. Let me tell you the reason why. No, there's a specific reason I didn't choose York, and I cannot remember what that reason was, okay? But there's something I saw on their website and I was just like, nah, this place is not for me. So I settled on Concordia, which is in Montreal, Canada, the French-speaking part of Canada, which is Quebec, but then Montreal is in Quebec. So yeah, I've been doing French since I was in class 1, so I was like, I'm sorted. I just need to brush up a little bit on Duolingo, which I had begun doing in faith. So I applied to Concordia. A few months later, I get confirmation that I have been accepted into the uni. I've actually been thinking of sharing the portfolio I used to apply to my studio arts course at Concordia, because if it was accepted into a uni that is like, it thrives in the art scene in Montreal at least, then it's a pretty good portfolio. So for my artists, if you want me to share that, let me know. However you let me know, whether it's in the comments or it's in the DMs, you know what I'm saying? Anyway, so yeah, I got in and I was ecstatic. I've even written that down. I was about to say it, but then I was browsing through my notes and I saw, oh, ecstatic, kube, I wrote it. Anyway, so I was extremely happy. I was like, whoa, things are working out for my good, you know, because I'm called according to his purpose and I love him. Anyway, that still is the case regardless of whether I went or not. So got in, super excited. I'm following all the regulations I need to follow thereafter to completely secure admission, which I ended up securing. I got my there's this certificate you get to be approved to study as an international student in Quebec. I applied for that. It was successful. I received it in the mail like 2 months later, you know. everything was just falling into place. And then I had one thing left, which was the visa. So I was like, you know what? He who began a good work in me will surely carry it to completion. Little did I know that this wasn't the plan of God over my life, but we'll get to that. So everything had fallen into place so seamlessly. I was like, there's no way this visa can be rejected. Okay. But fast forward to a couple of months later, conference week at my church. We have an annual conference. And guys, the Lord just loves to reveal negative things to me during this conference. Sijui ni nini. I don't know what it is, but I usually receive quite bad news during this conference. I think it's because during this conference, I'm usually just basking in his presence, and I am so in love with the Lord that it's like, even if I receive the worst news in the world, there's no way I can abandon my God. And I don't know, this is just me trying to form a hypothesis out of all these occurrences, but yeah, that has been the case for a couple of years. So conference week 2019, I think it was day 2, I get an email from the Canadian embassy during one of the sessions. I think it was mid-morning session. So I open this, I see the notification on my phone, and I also get a notification from the Canadian embassy's website that they've left an email in my inbox. So I was like, ooh, this is it. Mind you, this is a week before my flight is to leave. So this is an email I had been waiting for. I was like, yo, where is this email? You know, and then it was finally here. So I opened it. I'm like, here is the approval. Here is the acceptance. And I opened it, and I was, the first 2 words I saw were sorry and unfortunately. I was like, what? Because, you know, with my university letter of admission, the first words I saw, because I usually like peruse through documents before I actually start reading them. So the first words I saw on my university admission letter were congratulations and glad. So I was like, this is positive. But then now for the visa, it was sorry and unfortunately. And I'm like, I think there's a problem. I was just like, okay, let's just read this and confirm if what I'm seeing is true. Guys, when I tell you, hey, yo, it's like, as I was reading that letter, it's like my heart was ripped out of my chest. And I was distraught. I was like, I don't understand. I do not understand how. This is a week before the flight, which has already been booked. And this is happening. It's taken me 8 weeks to receive this email. So if I was to reapply, it would take me another 8 weeks. And I already checked with my uni to see the latest date I could report, because this email was delaying. Lol, I've just remembered what the theme of that conference was, and I'm just like, okay, there's a bit of a relation. But I had waited 8 weeks, and I'd let my university know that my visa approval is taking longer than expected. So when is the latest date I can actually come in? And they had given me a date. And on reading that email and calculating if I was to wait another 8 weeks for my visa to be approved, I would not meet that latest reporting date. So I was like, I'm basically doomed. So that week, remember I received this email second day of conference, and conference goes on for 6 days. That week was, can I say, the hardest week of my life? I think so, because I had to put on this image of happiness, yet I was not happy. Because as I've mentioned before, I do serve in my church as an usher, and I am pretty much the usher that smiles the most at my church. So I had to keep up with that. It's not a facade, because I genuinely, can I say exude? Yeah, I genuinely exude joy. So when I smile at you in church, it's a genuine smile, except for that week. Okay? Except for that week. Because I just was not in a good place. So the things I was thinking about in that moment, I've written them down. I was confused, because I was like, okay, I've been declaring this word, he who began a good work in me will be sure to carry it into completion, because I've been seeing everything falling into place. So I was like, the visa is definitely going to fall into place. So what does this mean? You know? Does it mean God is not active? Of course, even though that crossed my mind, that was not an option, because I know my God. Second thing that was on my mind, I was like, this cannot be true. Another thing on my mind was, what do I tell people? Because I remember at that time, one of the reasons why I was so disappointed is because there's this girl who went to my church, and we literally walked together during the journey of A-levels. When I didn't do so well in year 12, she was the one who encouraged me to even retake some of my subjects, which I ended up doing so much better in year 13. We finished A-levels together. I remember on results day, we were there together. You know, she took a gap year as well, so we were in church together. And she was going to the US. I was planning to go to Canada, and we were both going through all of these things together. And then, you know, she got into her uni, I got into my uni. We were so happy for each other. And she left for the US a week before conference, I think. Yeah, or something. So when I'd received this news, she wasn't even there. She was already in the US about to start uni. So I was like, oh my gosh. All of those conversations, everything. Now when she comes back during the holidays and she finds me here, nitaambia nini watu? Another thing on my mind which made me so disturbed was, I've literally wasted a whole year of my life, which in hindsight I did not, but at that time I thought I had. So I was an emotional wreck for that entire week. I remember somebody like just telling me the slightest thing, and I'll just behind the scenes break down, because I don't cry in front of people. And I was just so fragile that week, and nobody could tell, because I played it off so well. And I was distraught. So now that began a journey of me just questioning why everything had happened and why God would allow that to happen. And I was just like, I don't understand. I don't understand why all of this is happening. And it was in that moment that I was like, this is not the time to draw further away from God, Melissa. It's time to draw closer to him, so you can actually understand why all of this is happening. Because one thing I really understood, and this has been a life mantra from I don't know what age, is everything happens for a reason. So I was like, I need to understand. I need to understand the way forward. So there's no way I'm pulling away from my God. I need to press in closer to Him. So at that time, I remember I had my Bible journal, and it was in that Bible journal that I would begin writing letters to the Lord on exactly what I was feeling. Whenever I was feeling, I would just sit down and write and express to Him, because physically producing words to pray to Him were difficult. That was difficult at that time. So I was like, I need to write what I am experiencing, what I am feeling, because I still need to stay in touch with my good God. So moving on, I'm this person who doesn't really dwell on her emotions. I don't like to be in my feelings when it's time to be in my feelings. Just, I don't know. To me, in my mind, I feel like that's a sign of weakness, which it absolutely is not. And I got to learn through this experience. But I'm just, I'm not in touch with my feelings in the moment. And I take a while to actually process what I'm feeling. It could take days, it could take weeks, it could take months. Now for this, it took an entire month, because this happened in August, and it took up to September for me to realize everything that I was feeling. But I will get to that. So moving on from this, I was like, okay, what's the way forward? Are we joining a Kenyan university, or are we continuing to pursue this? Because I do have the option of a deferral on my course. So I was like, okay, let's just, I consulted my parents and everything, and I'm so grateful for them, because they've been such a great support system through all of this. And it's my friend who reminded me and who pointed that out, and I was like, yeah, that's true, because a lot of people would not be allowed to sit at home for a year, and now it's been 2 years. Okay. So yeah, I'm super grateful for them. Man, may God bless them, and may God bless me so I can also be a blessing to them in return, because it's about that time. Anyway, so moving on from it, having consulted with my parents, I was like, okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to request for a deferral of my course to January instead of starting in September, because now this ain't gonna work. Okay, even if I apply for a visa, I'll still report late, and that will not be good for me, especially starting out in a foreign country. So yeah, I requested for a deferral, and then lo and behold, when you thought the situation couldn't get worse, it got worse. So my university told me that courses under the Faculty of Art do not begin in January. So if they were to push my course to begin, to push my starting date, they would push it until next year, September 2020. I said, hey. I remember when I read that email, I laughed. I was in the car. I laughed. My mother looked at me like, what is wrong with this girl? But I think she just assumed I saw something funny on my phone. I literally laughed when I saw that, because I was like, this is a joke. This is a joke. Kumbe it wasn't. Kumbe it wasn't. So I was just like, hey, you have to wait a whole other year. What do I do now? God, what do I do now? One thing I'm super grateful for was the fact that I still held on to Him during that time. I could have easily just been like, deuces, I'm out. But I wasn't. So, yeah. And something to note is my uni only offered deferrals once. It only offers deferrals once. So I think I will share a whole different story on what I am currently doing now, because it is May 2020. and there's COVID and borders are shut. So I think I'll talk about what's on my mind right now in another video, even though I still could do it in this video. We'll see. So yeah, I got my starting date pushed to a whole year later. So I accepted this and I was like, okay, I'm gonna be home for another year, might as well make the most out of it. Fast forward to September 11th, my birthday. I was turning 20, and I remember I had just come from a social media fast. I say fast because it wasn't really something I did to intentionally grow closer to God, but it was something I did because I didn't feel like seeing people in their happiness. I didn't feel like seeing people living their best lives because I couldn't feel happy for people at that time because of what I was going through. That's how bad the situation was. I couldn't be happy for people. So, September 11th, I woke up. No, I remember that whole week. I had literally postponed everything else to do. I'd postponed everything else to do early that week to my birthday. Why? I got to find that out later on in the night when I was writing to my God, as had become a routine. I hope that was English. It was English, but like I hope it made sense. So that had become a routine of mine. So that morning I woke up pretty early, around 7, and I think I was out of the house by 8. I was in a matatu heading, no, I was going to town, I was going to Riverside, I was going to Lavington, I was going to so many places that day, and I had intentionally pushed all of my events, all of my whatever, I'm losing words. I'd pushed everything that I was supposed to do that week to my birthday. And I remember the day was so busy that I couldn't even think about the fact that it was my birthday. And that's what I wanted. That's exactly what I wanted. Because later on in the night, I remember I was writing. And as I started writing, I actually saw this letter yesterday. And I was like, whoa, okay. I started writing to God because I couldn't verbally pray. And I remember just breaking down. And as I was writing, truth was coming. And I realized that the reason why I had jam-packed my day so much was because I didn't want to experience the happiness of turning 20. Because I couldn't feel happy for people, I also couldn't feel happy for myself. And I consciously avoided all of my loved ones that day. My phone was off. I left the house early so I couldn't run into anybody. I came back home late so I couldn't run into anybody. I think I came back home around 8 p.m. And I did all of these things intentionally so I couldn't be around my loved ones because they would be happy for me and I would have to fake this happiness, and I just did not feel like doing that. So yeah, as I was writing all of this and I was breaking down and I was realizing why I was doing all of this, and it hit me that entire month from the time I got the rejection and everything that had come afterwards. I hadn't given myself time to actually process everything that had happened because, like I said earlier, I'm this person that doesn't process my feelings in the moment, and I move on. I'm like, okay, so what's the solution? Let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go, let's grind. We're moving on like nothing happened. But it's important to give yourself time to mourn because pain cannot be normalized. And that's exactly what I was trying to do. So, broke down that night. And I remember just picking up my phone and recording a voice message of everything that I was feeling at that moment. And I sent it to this friend. I've mentioned her twice already. The same one who I was telling I'm scared of what is going to happen because there are too many good things happening this year. The same one who pointed out that I have a really good support system in my parents is the same one I recorded this voice message for on WhatsApp. So I sent it to her. The reason why I opted for a voice message is because I do not like to be in vulnerable positions. So if I was to call her over the phone, it would have meant she would have been responding in real time, and I would have had to get more vulnerable. And I feel like with her responding, I wouldn't have aired all of my frustrations and feelings out. So I opted for a voice message. I just needed to be heard. I didn't need anybody to speak because I really did not care for what anybody had to say. I just needed to say what I was feeling. I had been bottling all of this up for a month without my knowledge, and it was finally time for all of it to get out. Do not do this to yourself. Do not build up things for so long. But at the same time, do not rush the healing process, but don't hold on to things longer than you should hold on to them for. So I sent her the voice message, cried a little bit, of course. And literally after I hit send, I felt lighter. And that was so important to me because I finally let out everything that was burdening me. And I was like, wow. So this is what I was feeling. And yeah, that happened. So having gone through that explains why I'm not bummed out that I'm not in Mombasa right now. And I feel like there's a lot of times when, the Lord takes you through valleys. And these valleys are very necessary because you can't have a constant high position. You have hills next to each other, but to get from the top of one hill to the top of another, you've got to pass through a valley. Am I making sense? So valleys are important, and that was a valley for me. But I feel like having gone through it, I've emerged stronger, and I've moved from one hilltop to another hilltop, and I'll continue going. And even as I continue going, there will be other valleys because there's no way I can progress. There's no way I can move from glory to glory without experiencing valleys. Okay? So that's a very important thing to note. So with Mombasa, I know God has a plan for it. It's going to happen. It has not been cancelled. It has been postponed. When it's happening, I will definitely let you guys know. And I hope y'all will be able to make it, especially my family in Mombasa, both family by blood and family by association. But yeah, I don't know what was this video. I just needed to let all of that out and finally move on. I've done it without crying, so hallelujah. Hallelujah. And yeah, I hope y'all have been blessed through that, because without that happening, I'd be pretty bummed out right now. But God can never allow you to go through trials and tribulations that you cannot handle. I think that's from the book of James. Because he wants you to overcome them. So there's no way he'll give you something that he knows you can't overcome. He created you. He's your manufacturer. So he knows how you work. He knows your strengths. He knows your weaknesses. He knows what you can handle. So it's very important to be obedient to him and to go before him like a child. Seek him in everything that you do before you even begin to do. Okay? So be encouraged, guys, and just know that everything you're going through is not only building you, but preparing you for other things to come. So thank you so much for watching. I have been Melissa Jo. I still am Melissa Jo, and I will continue to be Melissa Jo. Bye.